All right. Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is Delilah Bartlett with Delilah's Downloads. I'm so excited you guys can join us. I know you guys have been hearing about the big brunch over the last few months. It happened. It was last Saturday and it was phenomenal. So thanks to those who made it. To those who didn't, you want to make sure you get on board next time. But who we have here today, Lola Jones. Lola Jones was one of the amazing speakers at the Big Brunch last week, where we talked about how to own your journey and how to exercise authority in different parts of your life. Lola talked to us about our mental wellness and how to own the authority over our mind. And so it was so much rich content that Lola had prepared. We're like, okay, we got to chop this up, right, Lola? We
Absolutely.
talked
Yes,
about
we
how
did.
we got to lay the foundation in the brunch and
Yeah.
create some space, follow up space to kind of do some of these deep dives. And just so happens that May is Mental Wellness Month, and so we're like, okay, then let's do a few videos on
Yeah.
mental wellness. And so we're here to do just that. I'm so grateful to have her. Lola, welcome to the station.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a blessing and an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now, look, I know we got such a good foundation at the Big Brunch on understanding what is mental health and what is mental illness. And I know this next set of videos is really going to dive deeper in around that. But can you help just give us an understanding, those who may not have been at the brunch, understanding of what is mental health and what is mental illness?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, like you said, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, and so this month, it's been an awesome opportunity, really, just to get in there to break down, some of the stigmas that are around mental health. And we we sometimes interchange mental health and mental illness,
Yeah.
whereas they're not interchangeable, vocabulary words for experiences that we have. So just to kind of highlight a few things, mental health, it's something that we all have, right? It's not just based on one community of people or one ethnicity. It's something that every single person has. And so, it's really in just how we process the experiences that we go through and how we show up into different places.
Okay.
And when you think about mental illness, that actually goes a little bit deeper, diving into areas of your life that can be impacted based on how you process things, and it can actually impact your activities of daily living. So it can
Okay.
actually impact the things that you do regularly every single day. So for example, like you may have heard of, someone that may be depressed and they may have a hard time actually getting out of bed, going about, just to like get dressed in the morning, just basic
Mm.
things that we always
Their
do, right?
normal activities.
Absolutely. And so there's a difference even with depression, where there's clinical depression,
Mm.
but then there's also situational depression. And so situational depression can be, how you're even trying to process and cope with, tragedy or grief within your life. Whereas clinical, now we're talking about more of like a chemical imbalance that's taking place within your brain. And so some of the more severe mental illnesses, like bipolar, schizophrenia, those are more on the clinical side, where that's an actual mental illness that is about the chemical imbalance that's taking place in the brain, right?
That makes sense.
But then you think about, again, right? If I have mental health and I have a mental illness, right? Can I still have a normal life? And the answer to that is absolutely. I've seen
Right.
so many people that have struggled with mental illness on so many different levels, but they also have been able to live a normal, functioning, well lived life. And so, just to break the two apart a little bit, again, mental health is something we all have. We
Yeah.
just like we have physical health,
I was thinking the same thing. Just like we all got bodies and need physical
absolutely.
health, we all
Yeah.
got mental and need mental health.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes.
absolutely. And it's so important to think about, with our physical bodies, when we get sick, we go to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
With our mental health, it's the same process. Whenever we're not well mentally, we also have to think about the resources that are out there and available, just so we can learn how to not only cope, but then also have better mental health.
That's such a good reminder, Lola, that, as I equate it to something that I'm maybe I see better, like my physical
Mhm.
body. And thinking about like how I have regular checkups, like before even something's
Absolutely.
wrong, I'm going for an annual physical and blood
Absolutely.
work. And
Yeah.
so for me to think about my mental health similarly, like proactively having a routine for how to
Yeah.
check in on how I'm doing
Yes.
mentally.
Absolutely. And we always think about, when we when we go and we're doing check-ins, we can do check-ins with ourselves easily, right? Because
That's
we're
good.
always with ourselves.
Yeah.
But the challenge with that is really understanding the importance of having an outside perspective, right? And when we have even our mental health checks, it doesn't even have to be with a professional. I mean, there's techniques and strategies that we can do within ourselves,
I love
but then there's also times when we may need, either a good friend, a spiritual friend, right? Or we just need a professional to help us just to gain a different perspective on what it is that we're experiencing. And then how do we then work through that? I had a conversation with a
it.
friend just 2 days ago. I didn't sleep at all the night before. And so I was so tired at work. And I was like, man, I was like, I'm just trying to drum up the energy to even pray for myself. So I
Yeah.
called a friend and I was like, hey, can you, just pray for me just to have strength to get through the day? And that led into a whole nother conversation that was so needed in that moment. And I was able to say, I didn't even realize I needed that perspective on the
Wow.
situation, because
Yeah.
I would have easily have been able to stay in this perspective, but
Yeah.
gaining that outside perspective, it changed everything in how
That's good.
and even how I just will process and move within this other situation. So it was a blessing, and we all need somebody. We all need a somebody
Our community.
to
Yeah.
check in with us. We all need it.
Awesome. Awesome. I agree. Like I've grown as I get older, I learn even more and more about, the power of community and the power of
Mhm.
diverse community.
Yeah,
Because to your point, like the perspectives matter. The perspectives give value. And
absolutely.
with everyone's lived experience being different,
Yeah,
that then ushers in that opportunity to have different perspectives,
yeah,
and bigger, like, oh, aha moments.
yeah,
Aha
yeah,
moments.
for sure.
I love it, Lola. And but I want to get us into, if y'all missed it, y'all missed it. But we're gonna try to catch y'all up into all the amazing stuff that happened at the big brunch.
Yeah,
I think this is, hopefully people have a good understanding of coming in with context of, here's mental health, here's mental illness. So as
yeah,
we deep dive into these rich topics that you've made available for us, thank you again for offering up your time and talent and
for
expertise to
sure.
come talk to us. I think we're ready to kind of go into deep dive number one,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
see what you're revealing to us.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that we didn't have time to really dig deep into at the big brunch, but I really wanted to make sure that we talked about was just having capacity. And
Mm,
thinking about what does capacity look like for us, but then how does that also influence and impact how we present ourselves in the spaces that we go into.
absolutely.
And with that capacity, we bring in ourselves, what we're carrying, and what we're carrying can definitely also include things like labels that we've picked up in life in different spaces, right?
Facts.
I actually have a video that I want to share out with everybody really quick. Just thinking about the labels that we carry, and then when we come back, we'll talk about how that impacts us in the different spaces we go into.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into this video. I think it's like 2.5 minutes long, but let's go ahead and click play. was powerful.
Yeah. So, you think about, how you've experienced life, right? What are the things that you have experienced and have gone through, and the guy starting off, just even from random strangers, he didn't know who they were, right? And they were handing him labels, and so he didn't have the capacity within him to see anything different, to have a different perspective, right? He then had someone give him a different perspective. And so, once he then was given that other perspective based on his experiences, he's like, oh, wait a minute. He reflected on it. And then he's like, oh, now my cup has been filled. Now I can go and pour into somebody else
Yeah.
that was experiencing the same thing.
That's so powerful. It's so powerful because, I think just in my lived experience, um, I can inadvertently allow these things to attach them
Oh,
to
yeah.
me, to myself,
Oh, yeah.
and that power in, you said it before we watched the video, of a different perspective, and where I may walk into a room with you, in conversation with you, and I'm beating myself up about X, Y, and Z because I've allowed some label to append itself to me, but then to allow you to offer something different about me that then
Yeah.
kind of rids and strips me of things I shouldn't have held on to the first place, and then turn around and allow me to then be able to be the same and do the same for someone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because now we're talking and even identifying and shaking up, belief systems, right, within yourself. And we all believe in something, right? And
Yeah.
so, I mean, for me in particular, I believe that I'm a child of God, right? And so if I say that and I believe that, then I also have to remember that all of those labels that don't align with being a child of God,
Whoa.
they don't apply to me.
They're not for me.
Nope, they're
And
not.
it seems so simple. And I know we're endeavoring to leave these segments kind of micro learnings and be a little bit short, but it seems. But I want to make sure you get this in, because hopefully you can help us do this. It seems so simple. It seems
It
simple to
does.
say, here's a standard,
Yeah,
and if it doesn't apply, then I don't accept it.
yeah.
Um, but some of us probably struggle with that, Lola. Some of us, um I have struggled with that. Let me be honest. Like, I have
Likewise.
struggled with that, right? Where it's more reactive in, oh, I shouldn't have this. Or
Hmm.
maybe it takes some other perspective for me to take it off.
Hmm.
Are there any self-reflection exercises or other exercises we can do to be on the hunt for labels that don't apply? And then what do we do with them if we find them?
Yeah. So, honestly, I would say mindfulness is probably the best practice for that. Mindfulness, it
Yeah, because I'm
does
like,
take
say more.
it does take a little bit of time and effort, but it really allows you and requires you to think about what it is that you're thinking about. And what it does is you then are aware of how you're feeling and what you're experiencing in that moment. But then being able to identify, how do I then work past that? How do I then calm myself or even cope with what's going on? Right. So, like, for example, public speaking has always been a challenge for me. And even to this day, I've had so many opportunities where I get to speak in front of people, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's almost like innate, like my body just automatically switches and my heart starts beating fast. And when I recognize it, I have to say, okay, hold on. I know what I'm coming in here with, and I know the information that I have and the gifts and talents that I have been provided, right? So even though I feel my heart beating fast,
Yes.
I know that I'm prepared and I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'll start doing some breathing strategies. I'll start breathing in through my nose, holding it for 5 seconds, and breathing out through my mouth. Because breathing is something that we don't even, I think we take it for granted sometimes,
Sure. Sure.
and we don't understand our body functions and we need to
With
breathe,
breathing.
you know?
We need to be breathing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes intentionally. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so when we start to remember we have the ability to control how our breathing is, then that is where we start to then be able to calm ourselves down rather than feeding into the anxiety and the stress.
Lola, can I tell you what I just heard? And I know I've been through breathing exercises and all the things, but what I heard when you just said that was, when we go into these situations sometimes that are stressful, or even situations that are stressful, or people that can be stressful, or labels that can be stressful. If I have the power
Yes,
to control life and death, breath is life and death.
100%.
If I have the power to control life and death,
Yep.
how much more can I control some situation that I'm walking into? Like that becomes like nothing. Like
Yeah,
my ability to publicly speak or present becomes,
correct.
it pales in comparison to controlling breath, which is
Yes, you
life.
hit the nail on the head. That's it. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had never thought of that way.
Yeah, that is it. Absolutely.
Hey, Lola, I get it. Mental health, mental illness. I know the folks who are listening get it as well. Mindfulness, helping us take our thoughts captive as we
Yeah,
should, and being in control of them, breathing. As we wrap up this segment, because we'll be back, y'all, all through the month of May,
absolutely.
every Monday, Lola Jones Mindful Mondays through the month of May. What is something that you would want to leave the people with on this particular topic as we wrap up?
I would hope that you guys would understand and that you would take that mental health is something that it's very stigmatized in society, but it's also something that needs to be talked about.
Mhm.
So, not feeling the shame and the guilt that comes with not having a good day. We all have moments in time in life where it's just like, I'm not well today. And it's okay. It is
Yeah.
okay. But also remember, you don't have to stay there. And so, exercising your authority within yourself to know that you have the same power that rose Jesus from the grave to be able to exercise your authority over your mental health. You have the ability to do that. And if you're not able to do it by yourself, or with the community of people that you have around you, it's okay to reach out for professional help. I mean, I'm a therapist who's had a therapist before too, like,
I have one.
yeah, doctors, they have doctors too that they go and see,
Makes
right?
sense, right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
So, just, my prayer is that the shame, that is attached to experiencing mental health or experiencing a bad day, is something that, is becomes more of a conversation just so we can gain a different perspective.
I love it. I love it. I love it, Lola. I so appreciate you coming. I'm excited about what the people comment in this particular video, and we will be looking back for comments so we can make sure that
Absolutely.
you guys get healthy response, because this is community,
Absolutely.
and so we do life together.
Yeah.
But there are two more videos coming, Lola. I want to thank you for extending yourself beyond just the brunch commitment. I know I asked her, hey, can you speak at the brunch? And here we are like, hey, can you do a couple more videos because there's so much. But I'm so grateful for you joining us here. Delilah Bartlett, Delilah's Downloads, ladies and gentlemen, Lola Jones,
Thank you
uh,
guys. Thank
and
you.
we'll be back. All right,
Absolutely.
gang, take care.
Bye.